We are here to celebrate. We are here to celebrate the best American club soccer story, maybe the American best soccer story out there right now. I'm not talking about Christian Pulisic and Yunus Musa doing their thing over at AC Milan or what's happening at Juventus. What we are talking about, maybe even bigger than the stuff we saw in years past. Fulham America. I don't know how you say that. With a steady flow of Americans popping up there. Leeds United. Remember the euphoria of that? I know it wasn't that long ago. Of course you remember it. Sometimes it feels like it never happened because it came and it went. But we were bonkers about it. Two, then three Americans plus a U.S. coach helping Leeds stay up before they finally went down. And then it broke apart. And I don't know if PSV Eindhoven will last. But all the signs are there that it could be just starting a wonderful foundation for Americans, executives, perhaps coaches, certainly players in the years ahead. And yes, I know of the four Americans that are currently doing their thing at PSV Eindhoven, two were born in the Netherlands, one was born in Germany, and one was born in El Paso, Texas. They're all American. And they bleed and they sweat red, white, and blue. And they remember that every time they play. So today, here on the Soccer OG, check out the Soccer OG podcast, where all podcasts are available. New shows out every week. Got a really nice one talking about what's going on in U.S. soccer, some big changes all over the shop there. Doug McIntyre joined us. We'll have another show this week. Like and subscribe us here as well on YouTube under my name, Max Bretos. We appreciate the support. So PSV, as you probably know, because we're talking about it a lot, and people are watching these games, and you can watch the Dutch Eredivisie on ESPN+. Not all the games are on there. And not all the games are going to be super compelling. This isn't the Premier League, La Liga, Serie A. But when they play some of those top teams together, it is very compelling. As we saw this last week when AZ Alkmaar played PSV Eindhoven, and PSV may have had their best performance to date. Coming off what was their best performance to date a couple weeks ago when they won at Sevilla on the road in Champions League to book their spot in the round of 16 of that competition. And they just had to draw. And we'll tell you what PSV did because it could continue well into 2024. Early on in this season, we didn't know. It was the unknown, right? We'll start with the executive part, and that, of course, being Ernie Stewart, who was the head of U.S. Soccer. Now, when he left U.S. Soccer, he just started the investigation with Lorena's and Greg Berhalter. And we were thinking, maybe I was thinking, I shouldn't speak on your behalf, but we certainly thought, I did it again, that maybe he wanted to get out of U.S. Soccer because of all of this. But no, he was leaving for a better job. PSV Eindhoven is a big name in European soccer. And in the year that he's been there, just under a year, he has made it even bigger. And we'll talk about those accolades there. So he gets the gig there. PSV, it's been pretty dry for their success in recent years. Hadn't won a Dutch title in 2018 and now making some inroads in the Champions League. Hired Peter Bosz, not an American. And that began it. And then he was key in bringing Americans over. First, it was Sergiño Dest, who I think it was a good time to talk about Sergiño because this is a big one for him. He's the most important piece of PSV because we're always looking for American players to get a good amount of playing time, to find success, playing big games, and just play regularly. Play regularly. Sergiño Dest is doing that. Remember, he was with Barcelona. He's on loan at PSV. And then he is also played time at Milan. Now he's at PSV, and he is playing the way we know he can because he is exhilarating. Very few players anywhere can go forward like him as a fullback. Defensively, still a work in progress. But what he can do going forward, you can see what it means for PSV. He is a superb talent. He is getting the games. That is the key piece here as it applies to USMNT. So Serginho Dest came on. Ricardo Pepi brought in over, they dropped some coin here from Augsburg after he showed that he could score in the Dutch league with Groningen. And then he came in here as a piece that would be, as it stands now and as it initially was, a backup to Luc de Jong, who's been fantastic as the number 9 for PSV. Eventually, Malik Tillman would join them, a guy who had played at some big clubs. He's just 21 years of age, a number 10, was with Bayern, played a little bit there, and then he played with Rangers, was with the Champions League team there as well, so he's had some good experience. So those are the 3 pieces, and they happen so quickly, you get the feeling that Ernie Stewart is using it to, look, he's using things to his advantage. He is American, he has a lot of American contacts, right? He was with U.S. Soccer, he's rubbing shoulders with MLS, he's rubbing shoulders with coaches and scouts that are in the United States who could tell him about a player that they feel would be good for PSV. PSV also has Young PSV, which is a place where you can develop players for the senior team, and we've seen some Americans go through that route. Dante Seeley, for example, who now plays at FC Dallas, was with Young PSV, as was Malik Tillman for a brief moment. So there's that pipeline, and it is churning. And now we wonder, A, we're getting the games and the experience, but are we getting the success? Because winning is better than losing, and winning is contagious. And all PSV are doing right now is winning. It is truly remarkable. This weekend, weekends are hard because you've got a lot of soccer already on your plate. But I said, okay, AZ, PSV, that's a big game for us to watch. We will watch it in its entirety. This was an absolute whitewash. PSV were up by 3 goals 16 minutes in, which included a Malik Tillman ball to Serginho Dest for his first club goal, league goal for PSV. He has helped them out in other competitions. This was their 16th win in 16 league games. They have scored 56 goals. They have allowed 6. They are 8 points clear of second place Feyenoord, who are the reigning champions. They are 23 points ahead of Ajax, who are in the midst of a dismal season. And what a huge lift for Dutch football that PSV, where, the crown prince of Dutch football is having such a bad year, that PSV has come in there and given them a lift when they really needed it the most. So, tremendous what they're doing in the Dutch league. Perfect in the Champions League. We're in a group with Arsenal. Well, let's go back a little bit more. They had to go through 2 qualifying rounds to get into the Champions League proper. They beat Sturm Graz out of Austria, with someone they were supposed to beat. Then they played Rangers, who were in the group stages of the SPL in Scotland. That was more of a coin flip, but they cruised past both those oppositions so they could get into the group stages with Arsenal, Sevilla, and Lens, where Arsenal would be the favorites to win it, that group, which they did, and Sevilla would be a pretty clear second. PSV worked very hard along the way, took a couple shots, but by the end of the group stages were completely on fire. They won at Sevilla, featuring the biggest goal of the year, which was scored by Ricardo Pepi off the bench. And we'll talk a little bit more about Pepi, because what he has done here, to me, has been so impressive, because it started so slow. He wasn't getting on the field, and he didn't get discouraged. He waited for his opportunity, and when it came, he took it. There was no complaining. You didn't hear any of that. He was a happy camper, by and large. I'm sure he wants to play more, but he waited for it. That opportunity came in the game against Sevilla, which was away, if I haven't said that already. Scored the game-winning goal, which meant PSV would go through to the round of 16. So we're piling up these achievements. It really is a bottomless pot. And if you join me here on previous shows, you would remember I had my guard up here. I wasn't sure if this was going to work if Serginho Dest would have his head on straight, if Ernie Stewart could bring his know-how to a top European club. Ernie Stewart is a hot property now because what he is doing so far at PSV. Whether Ricardo Pepi would find his way. He has. 2024 is very well poised for him. So you have this incredible win over the weekend. You win at Sevilla. You tie Arsenal in the final group stage game, and Arsenal didn't play their full allotment of players, but still a really nice result so that you get through to the round of 16. And while you haven't clinched the Dutch league yet, you're well on your way. You've given yourself a cushion. I would be shocked at this point if PSV doesn't win it, unless the bottom falls out, because the one thing you'd be concerned about is being kept too busy in Europe, but that hasn't bothered them at all. And now the Champions League will get drawn out a bit. They'll be off until February. They have a game, I think, on the 21st, the Dutch Cup, and then they're off for the holidays for a stretch there. So they couldn't really recalibrate. Maybe they bring in another American in the winter window. So everything is going very well, playing better and better. And the four Americans, obviously, we could say that about Ernie Stewart without saying, because he's overseeing all of this. And I love the fact that he appointed the coach. That was a guy who was out of work, and that is something that looks like it's worked out perfectly. Ricardo Pepi, just to continue on his story, doesn't play a lot, barely starts. He one goal every 52 minutes. He's played a grand total of 364 minutes in total. He has plugged in goals, 6 goals in 21 appearances in all competitions, and 2 assists. He is also been having a great year with the national team. And there is a U.S. Soccer Male Player of the Year vote that's out, and the fans can vote. Go to U.S. Soccer. You're allowed to vote on that. It is a percentage of the overall vote. He has had 7 goals for the national team. Goal versus Uzbekistan, Oman. He had a goal versus Trinidad and Tobago when they played here in November. A goal versus Mexico in the Nations League semifinals versus El Salvador. 2 versus Grenada. And he's only had 2 starts for the national team. My vote is going for Ricardo Pepi, even though Christian Pulisic will likely win it, and he would be a deserved winner. But Ricardo Pepi, with what he has been given, has made the most out of the national team. So we cross streams here a bit to show that Ricardo Pepi has had a magnificent 2023 when he had a hugely disappointing 2022 when he was not called into the national team. Great news. It shows the guy has got it up here, and he is ready for the challenge, a long way from home, from West Texas. So Pepi has 4 goals in 13 games including that massive one against Sevilla. He's doing well. Malik Tillman's playing more and more. He has 5 goals in 12 games. He's played in 7 Champions League games. He has 3 assists, including that incredible one to Serginho Dest. In that Alkmaar game, he was the man of the match for me. He was everywhere. He was shot out of a cannon. He is getting better. And again, remember, he is a very young player. Serginho Dest on loan, 19 games in all competitions. That's a huge haul for them. And remember, he had that meltdown against Trinidad and Tobago. How quickly we've forgotten about that. Maybe we haven't. But certainly for Dest, we wanted to look for a response. He has had a magnificent one with PSV. And we're getting all 3 of these guys minutes, and Dest is the one that we have to get the most out of that. So it's a fantastic development. And now the Monday draw, we waited to see if PSV would have a favorable one, and they did. They're getting Borussia Dortmund, one of the 8 teams that won their group. And a favorable draw, in my estimation. They, of course, have Gio Reyna, but we are going to anticipate he will not play. But you didn't get Real Madrid. You didn't get Bayern Munich. You didn't get Manchester City. You would have loved to have gotten Real Sociedad. You can't assume you're going to get it. The 3, if you're a second-place team in the Champions League, you would want to get, I think, the 3 group winners that would be a favor to you: Sociedad, Atletico Madrid, all due respect, and Borussia Dortmund, because they weren't expected to be group winners, and they all are. So I think that's going to be competitive. PSV has a legit shot to make the quarterfinals, and then we can revisit. If they make the quarterfinals, we've had some great achievements for Americans in the Champions League. This would go right near the top of that list because of the just the mass number of American interest in this. This is the Ernie Stewart aspect. I know we didn't talk about him, and we mentioned how it was such a dark time that he left U.S. soccer. He is clearly giving Americans opportunities. The Netherlands is a country rich in football pedigree. One of the best countries for when you look at the size of it, what they've been able to do with their league, with their national team. Fantastic. He is the top executive in the Netherlands right now. That is not debatable. And he's giving Americans opportunity. And it's working out beautifully. We'll continue to keep tabs of this story. Make sure you watch PSV as much as you can, because it is, in the words of Ric Flair, the best thing going today. Woo! If you are a fan of U.S. soccer. The Soccer OG. Check out the podcast where all podcasts are available. Like and subscribe us here on YouTube. We're getting to the end of the year. Lots of good stuff to wrap up 2023 on the horizon. We'll see you very soon.